I'm going to ask you a question to give you the opportunity to share your journey on LinkedIn.
For me, it's like done is better than perfect. This is why discipline is important. Discipline is about like consistency and repeating. I don't do everything to optimize for LinkedIn. I do things to look like me. And I figured out that maybe if I'm more visible and if the brand is more visible, then I would attract more sales. Sometimes I meet people and they tell me, oh, I know your content on LinkedIn. It's like really great. To be honest, you are one of the only people I follow and I really read. Because everyone is saying crap on LinkedIn, but your content is really different, it's original. And this is why I think I'm doing something that looks like me. I see many people start LinkedIn and write like they are copying like people who are much bigger.
Yeah.
And they think that it will work for them and they realize that no, it doesn't work for them. You have to explain why what you're saying is going to be insightful and interesting. And if you're no one, it's harder.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us this evening. I'm accompanied by Charles, who gives us the pleasure to join us. Can you maybe present yourself a little bit before I can introduce the plan for this evening's live session and we can dive into things? Yeah.
Perfect. Hey everyone, really happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Virgil, and Taplio team. So thanks everyone for joining. I'll try to make this session as valuable as possible for you and share everything that I've learned in the last years doing personal branding. So yeah, really excited. Thanks for being here. Thanks for having me. So I'm Charles, I'm 38. I have 2 kids and I'm working as a CEO of Lemlist, and of course we actually own Taplio, even though it's a separate team that operates the business. And before that, I started my career as a finance guy. So I lived a lot in spreadsheets and analysis. And after I moved to tech in software, where I was initially a chief financial officer for a company called Botify. Then I became head of operations on top of being a CFO. And then I worked for different scale-ups, including Spendesk, AssoConnect, and more recently I was a chief revenue officer at Scalo. And 3 years ago, I joined Lemlist and Lempire, initially as a COO. The company was founded by Guillaume, and he gave me the management of the company. And now I'm the CEO of the business.
Okay, nice. So yeah, and for those of you who haven't seen me around in Taplio's content so far, I'm Virgil. I'm 29 years old and I run the marketing operations at Taplio. And I'm so happy we can kickstart these live sessions with guests, with you, Charles. And so yeah, we're gonna start with around a 30-minute interview where I'm gonna ask you a question to give you the opportunity to share your journey on LinkedIn. And then we're gonna have a Q&A session. So guys, if you have some questions, we have Josquin in the chat who's gonna gather those, and at the end we're gonna answer the most pertinent ones. So yeah, maybe to start things off, when did you really start to decide to take LinkedIn seriously, and how did that initial journey kind of kicked off?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, just to give you an idea, today I have almost 35,000 followers, 34,000. And I'm growing, so I keep track of how I grow, thanks to Taplio. But to give an idea, it's like between 500 and 1,000 followers per month. I'm not like obsessed over this, like it's not my ultimate goal in life to have like more followers, but it's always good to know because it's one driver for motivation, you know, to see the progress. It's like when you go to the gym, you see your body weight change, you know, or your shape evolve. So it's always good to keep track of that. But the reason why and when I started to do LinkedIn and personal branding, it's I started when I had 2,000 followers and connections, and I was like a chief revenue officer at Scalo.
Okay.
So it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
And what happened is that there are 2 triggers that made me want to do LinkedIn. The first one is that I was kind of frustrated that people who are sometimes experts never talk publicly and never say anything. But sometimes some people like do know nothing about the topic, but they will talk, you know. And the share of voice is often like taken by people who don't know so well some topic. And so for me, it like was really important to say, okay, I don't think I'm the best chief revenue officer on earth, like far from that, but I will never be the best in anything, you know. I will never be, because there is always someone who is better. But what I know is that I'm doing my best to be quite good. And what I learn can be actually helpful to someone. And my motive was this one, was like, I'm sure that I can be helpful. And so let's find a way to be helpful to some people and share what I learn. So that was one of the main driver. And on the meantime, like, because when you share, it's like when you teach something, usually you get better to something. So I'm interested because of course it's always like good to give in life. Personally, I like to give, and I feel like through LinkedIn, when I share what I know, I feel that I have some kind of purpose. So it's something that I feel like good for me. And the other reason is that when you share things, you improve your learning because you're able to shape things, and the way you have to write on LinkedIn is very specific. You don't have so much space, so you have to package the learnings into something that makes sense. And I think it helps to even get better in what you do. And the last reason was that, for instance, at Scalo, I wanted to hire more sales reps, more salespeople. And I was trying everything to hire more sales. And I figured out that maybe if I'm more visible and if the brand is more visible, then I would attract more sales. And we grew the sales team from like 10 people to like 100 in 1 year and a half.
Okay.
And I'm sure that LinkedIn helped because like we were promoting the culture at Scalo, how we do sales. I was taking like videos in the office, like photos of like events we were doing. And I know that it attracted somehow people who were like sharing the post and talking about us. And so one of the motive was really to drive like business impact for the company.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you've talked about images, pictures, etc. And in that first topic selection, format selection, how did that look? Did you have like a method to start, or was it a bit freestyle until it got serious? How did you get to things initially?
No, I think because I had a permanent job, I think if like doing content is your full-time job, you need to have a very serious content creation process. And some friends who do content like Shannon, I know that she's very serious about it and she's very well organized. To be honest, for me it's a hobby, so I never took it like 100% seriously, and I can still explain how it evolved over time, and I'm doing it now. But to be honest, like I just started, like my mindset was just let's get started, let's post for something, because very often it's the main problem that people face. It's like they don't want to get started, and for me it's like done is better than perfect. You know, you just have to click on send, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like when you do recording, I will never watch myself. You know, I hate watching myself. I'm like, why did I say that? Why you know, you always want to be better. It's the same with LinkedIn. So the best is just, okay, let's write something. Let's read it once or twice. Maybe you can sleep over it. But when it's posted, you say, okay, just that's it. And to be honest, at the beginning, people made fun of me. Some contacts that I had, like some network people that I knew, because it was kind of like weird for them to write on LinkedIn. Yeah. Which is really interesting because people find it normal to read on LinkedIn, but not to write, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
you don't find it funny to see an Instagram story of one of your friends or something like that. So yeah, that's pretty weird. Yeah. But,
but people are fine to consume. Yeah. But when it comes to acting, it's like another world, you know, to them.
Yeah,
and so clearly at the beginning, some people mocked me. Even recently, I had some people mocking me, and that's fine. Like people, but of course, like we talk a lot of slang, you know, talking about SaaS, about sales, PLG. So people make fun of that, and of course on LinkedIn there are some codes. Sometimes you need to be a bit tricky in the way you hook. Sometimes you need to take a selfie of yourself, and so not everyone likes that, but it's fine. I mean, starting whenever you do something, you always have people criticizing, so you just need to accept it. So I started with not real process, and I just did one post, a second post, a third post, and I basically I improved over time on writing. But for me, it's a lot about doing and improving while doing. And the more you write, the better you get at writing, and you find your style too. Because I think it's really important that people understand that you don't need to copy necessarily one style. And for instance, with AI, it's actually AI is really good to copy a style. So you can give 5 posts of someone to AI and say, okay, copy the style of Lara Acosta, copy the style of Guillaume Moubesh, and you can do that. But for instance, I tried I asked Guillaume to help me write posts when I joined Lemlist, and he was writing posts in his style, which works better than my style. He's doing better than me, but it's not me, you know, so I don't want to do it, you know.
Yeah, you need to find your own voice, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, I prefer to have like 100 likes on a post and that it looks like me, than having like 500, but it's not me, you know. That's my mindset.
And yeah, talking about the structure of the post and when you kind of started to get serious about the way you were writing, what was the first like kind of sticking experiment you ran where you thought like, okay, let's structure the hook this way, the post this way, and it actually had an impact?
Yeah. So it was really a process, but I think there are two things. There is what I learned and what I know now, you know, because like, but what I learned in the process was like that, of course, like pictures work. It's an economy of attention. So, you have to attract people. It's either by having a very strong hook or the image will help. Yeah. And it's even better if you are like a nice girl, to be honest. Like, let's be honest. Like, if you're a nice girl, like people stop and scroll. Stop scrolling.
Or buy a cute dog.
Yeah. Or I use my dog. It was like the cutest dog on earth, and it was like clearly like clickbait. I admit that. So sometimes you have to play with the game, and so sometimes I will do a picture, but most of the time. I think that actually works to generate a content, and then but sometimes it's important not to underestimate different things. First of all, never underestimate discipline. Sometimes I think it's better to post like 4 times a week and get 50-60 likes than twice a year and get 1,000-2,000 likes, because actually when you are viral, I don't think so many people follow you. Because viral posts, they are not so much attached to you, to your image. I think what's attached to your image, it's valuable post. And sometimes like it's better to reach like 10,000 people or 5,000 people with something that's valuable and people want to follow you than reaching like 1 million person with something which is not valuable and we just generate like, I don't know, a fun meme or like an inspirational quote that people can relate to. And I've seen like, I've never seen a link between virality of my post, and sometimes I had posts who had like 500,000 prints, and I didn't gain so many followers thanks to this post. So I think it's important to understand that this is why discipline is important. Discipline is about like consistency and repeating, and not being ashamed of like it's fine. So I've seen that discipline is like the most important thing, to be honest. And the other thing for me is like always try to say something valuable. So for instance, maybe you can find counter example in my post, because maybe I don't do it 100% of the time, but I think 90% of the time, if you look at my post, or 95%, you'll see that even if I'm saying, okay, I am going there and I have a picture of myself at the airport, I will always try. I will not stop there. I will not stop to the information is that I'm doing X, that nobody cares. Yeah. The information is why am I doing it and why it can be interesting for you. So my mindset is always like, there is an audience, and I'm trying to understand what's helpful to them, what can I help them like be better in their job, and what can I share from my learnings. And I think that doing this is something that creates like some kind of like virtuous circle. Yeah. Where you're known, because sometimes I meet people and they tell me, oh, I know your content on LinkedIn, it's like really great. To be honest, you are one of the only people I follow and I really read, because everyone is saying crap on LinkedIn, but your content is really different, it's original. And this is why I think I'm doing something that looks like me, is a good idea, because it's my content. So for instance, I never repurpose. When many people repurpose, if you look like a very famous influencer, they will reuse the same post, and it's actually a good practice. And I advise people to do it if they want to grow. But personally, I always write new content, like always write new idea, because it's a way I want to do it. Like, and I don't do everything to optimize for LinkedIn. I do things to look like me, and I want to have no regrets, and to do something that I can do over time, you know, and not stop after. If you just optimize for the algorithm, I think it's the best way to stop after 3 months, because when you don't have enough results, you're desperate, and then you stop, and then you quit, and because it doesn't really like you.
And how does that discipline look like for you today? Because I mean, you're extremely busy being the CEO of a company with over 130 employees. So how do you make posting on LinkedIn fit to your schedule? Because I'm sure that if you can do it, a lot of people can also. So yeah,
you can always do it. So actually, it's always a trade-off. So first of all, like my mindset is that I don't want to spend more than 30 minutes in one post, just because I can't spend more than that. And I'm trying to post at least 2 or 3 times a week. But I'm good if I don't post once in a week. I will be fine. But if I don't post in a week, I will be like, this is starting to be not so good, so I need to post next week.
Yeah.
And it even happened that sometimes I didn't post for 10, 15 days. But when it happens, it's just that because I have it done and I don't have so much creativity. And I'm like, okay, it's going to come back. Just wait a bit. Just give space and that will come back. And when I have creativity times, so usually it's for a few days that I feel like I have lots of ideas. Then I write all my ideas in Taplio, like in the Kanban, in ideas. I have a column for ideas and I write all my ideas. And sometimes it's can be during the metro or during commuting is a good one, or like when running. So I go running and then I have an idea. And then I think ideation is like the most important part. And ideas, they can come when you're alone doing something or when you are like talking with someone. Like for instance, you can be at lunch with someone and you have an idea. So I will always say to the person like, wait, I need to take something. I need to note something, and I will take a note, and I will usually write like a few words so I can remember the idea. But the idea is that it's really important to identify when you have ideas coming, and note them, and get sufficient information so you can get back to the idea and continue the post.
Okay.
And sometimes if I feel like really inspired by a topic, I will write a full draft so I can stop running and write 10 lines, 20 lines. And then I go back running and I have the post. And so it's a kind of backlog. And then what I do is that I go back to all the ideas and I decide which one I want to delete because I don't feel good with it anymore, or which one I'm not ready to talk about. Like or which one I feel like I want to talk about today. And so I will scroll in my Kanban, in my list, and I will say, okay, this idea, no, I don't think I will ever talk about that. That's actually not such a good idea. Or this one, like, okay, maybe, but not today. And this one, okay, I feel like I can talk about this one.
Okay.
So it's really like that. It's really like being aware when you have ideas coming. And on the meantime, this is why I'm saying that I'm not so well organized, because I don't force myself into posting 3 times a day.
You don't have a reminder in the calendar on Monday, Wednesday, Friday to write a post like many people do. Like you try and combine the spontaneous aspect of having an idea and write it down, but also batching to write them up at some point in the week when you feel like you have the time to do so.
I think it's a best practice, and my friend Michel from Cold IQ, who is doing amazing with LinkedIn, he starts the day by writing LinkedIn posts. So he arrives to the office and he's not allowed to go to take a coffee before he has written his post. And he takes it very seriously. And I liked it because he posts every day. But I think it's a bit different when it's a hobby. I think he's taking LinkedIn a bit more serious than me. Me as a hobby, I think my mindset is more like, okay, my job is being a CEO. I like to write on LinkedIn. If I feel like I've not been writing for a while, I will force a bit myself. I will be like, okay, now I need to post. Let's do something. But it's fine if I don't post for a couple of days.
Okay. And so, being like kind of a hobby and not being obsessed by the metric, I think is kind of important also to keep the value at the center of every post you do. But to try and continuously improve on the reach you can get and the size of your audience, what are the key metrics that you are tracking, and how often do you track them to get insights to actually improve your content schedule and what you post about and so on?
Yeah. So the main thing that I'm tracking is that I'm tracking like my follower counts and my connection count. Okay. Because one connection is one follower. So if you increase only connection, it just means that you have added more people and you're limited to 30,000 people in LinkedIn. So you can go to 30,000 connection, which actually helps a lot to grow at the beginning. But then after you're stuck. So I track followers and connection. And I check, I do that every month. So every month I check that, and I count the number of new followers I had per day on average, and I see the trends. And I go, and then the other thing I do is that I go back to my posts once a week or once every 2 weeks. It really depends. And I check a bit the engagement, because sometimes the post now with the new algorithm, the engagement takes much longer. Yeah. It's not like at the big, like it was 1 year ago where you had engagement very quickly. Now you sometimes have very low engagement, and then after it starts to take off.
It picks up,
So I usually check the post maybe 1 or 2 weeks after, and I check. Of course, I check the likes and I reread the post, and I ask myself like, is it still something that I like, or should I have done it differently in terms of hook? And of course, the last thing I mentioned is like, whenever I post, usually I try to have like 20-30 minutes that after my post to go to the comments and reply to different comments. And so same, there is a good feature in Taplio where you can see all the comments and reply very quickly. So that helps to save a lot of time versus LinkedIn UI, which is not the greatest.
And that is actually very important in the beginning to engage with other people, to be really active on your own post whenever someone comments, to answer directly. So everything you can put in place to make sure you do that as quick as possible.
But I think even when you're big, because if you look at like the biggest influencers, they still answer to comments most of the time.
You're right.
Unless you are I don't know. The CEO of LinkedIn, or you have really no time, but most influencers that they always answer to comments, just because it makes if someone comment on your post, if you never answer to them, they will stop commenting. So personally, I like to engage with people who commented. Of course, it depends what they comment. If they just summarize the post with AI, or if they add something that's really valuable, I will take more or less time. But so I'm always trying to take 30 minutes after I post to do that. And after, during the evening, for instance, I will go back to my post and I will try to answer most comments. That doesn't mean that I answer to all, because sometimes I just don't have time and I go to something, that's it. But most of the time I will try to answer all comments. Yes.
Okay.
So I don't track so many KPIs overall. I just have this monthly check-in, and then after I will check engagement post by post.
Okay.
You can see that in Taplio with the posts that were the most successful. But because I don't repurpose, as I said, but I know that for people who are very well organized, repurposing is like very strong power.
Yeah.
Because you take the post that you posted, I don't know, maybe 4 or 6 months ago, you check the one that worked quite well, and you rewrite them a bit differently.
Yeah.
And usually it's easy win, because you know that the post already worked once, and usually it works twice.
But you don't repurpose the content, but do you repurpose the structure? Like how you've written the hook, maybe the kind of image. Do you do that or not?
No, image never, and ideas I can repurpose a bit ideas, but it's because I don't know, I have lived the story and I really like this story, and so I want to tell the story another time, but I will not take the post and rewrite it. I will just start from blank, from start. Yeah.
Okay. And whenever you don't have like something specific to push about a new feature that went live for Lemlist, you're attending an event and you want as much people to join and so on, do you like sometimes set specific goals, like, I don't know, this time I'd love to crack the 200 comments barrier or something like that? Do you actually try to gamify your own experience in a way to set little goals whenever you write a post? Or?
No, I'm sure Erwan could do that. Erwan is our growth manager, VP of growth at Lemlist, and he's like really strong in LinkedIn. And I'm sure he could do that. No, I don't gamify, because I really see that as a hobby, and I don't think I'm someone who is like so driven by games like that. I just do that to deliver value. The thing I do is like I will what I do, it's like when I have a bit of time, I try to find very different ways to talk about a topic, because something that people don't realize in content creation, it's like, first of all, like the hook is like maybe 80% of the post. It's like people only read the headlines in the news. You read the headline, you think you have read the whole article, but the hook is like really important. And the hook is not only how you write, it's what angle you use for a topic. And of course there are famous hook, like here are 5 things that I wish I knew as a CEO. Before I take my 5 things I wish I knew before I accepted the CEO job. This is a typical hook. So you can of course train an AI with standard hooks. I think they tend to fade a bit, because like when people have seen them 20 times, then it's a bit like annoying. So it works when they're kind of new. But the way you approach the topic is like really important, because if you say I don't know, something like, I learned many things as a CEO this year, and you start to write, it's it's a bit boring, so you have to take an angle that's a bit different, and I think it's like always very interesting mentally to find the right angle. And actually it makes me think of something, if I may, because we had this discussion with the team of Taplio very often. It's like, for people who are here, it's really important that you know how you're perceived. Because, for instance, if you take what was the name again? Lara Acosta, Matt Barker, or even like very famous people. If this person who have like a huge audience, they write something, and you write the exact same thing, but you are no one.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because what you have to understand is the way you are perceived by your audience, and are you someone who is legitimate to talk about that?
Yeah.
For instance, me, I'm the CEO of a business that works quite well, so I'm legitimate to talk about sales, leadership. So I talk about things where people can give me credit for. But if you're no one in somewhere because you start from zero, you have to build credibility.
Yeah.
And you cannot like post in the same way as someone who already has it. And it's a problem I see sometimes with people who start with content creation, that they think that they have to write the same way as like the big ones do. But it's totally different. They have to, first of all, they have to niche down because they cannot address like a very wide audience when they are very small. And beside niching down, they have to understand that they cannot do the same hook. They cannot do something that, when you're very famous, you can do a very plain quotes about happiness is about doing what you love, If I write that, I will get 0 likes. Yeah. But if you're like, I don't know, like someone like Simon Sinek, he will get 10,000 likes, or 20,000 likes. So it's really important to understand like someone who is going to see you profile, who you are and what you write. And it has to make sense and to say, okay, I trust this person to talk about this topic and it's going to be interesting. And if you are no one, it's actually much more difficult to generate attention because why would people matter about you if you're no one?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so cool. And we were talking about posting on LinkedIn, the metrics it generates and so on. But do you have like kind of a nice quote or something that an opportunity or something like really valuable that came out of this LinkedIn journey you've been on for the past years?
Yeah, or tips you mean that I can share?
Yeah, or not more like tips to grow, but like something that came from LinkedIn. And that really changed your game or Lemlist's game. Yes.
Yeah, there are many things. I mean, like for sure, when you have a personal brand, it's an asset that is like goes beyond one job because it's forever or at least for a while. So I do recommend anyone to build a personal brand for sure. I can tell you some example, but once I visited a private equity firm with a 10 billion asset under management, so a big private equity firm. I was waiting for the partner who asked me to come because he wanted to ask stuff about previous companies and how you run sales and go-to-market motions. And I was having my coffee and waiting for the partner. And someone enters the room or pass by the room, sees me, look at me weird and say, I know you. Are you Charles? I'm like, yes. Oh, I love your content on LinkedIn. It's awesome, And I asked who she is. And she was like principal at the pre-funds. She had done like an amazing school, like the profile of the person was like huge. And she told me like, I love what you write. It's very smart and interesting. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like if someone from a private equity firm that in the finance, you don't talk so much publicly and it's not something that people do, knows me and like values what I do is like, it has some value, somehow. So it really was good. And now, I mean, like I have many examples of people in interview saying that I've been following your content or I've viewed your video about that. I really like what you said about this. And this is why I want to join a company. So it clearly has a lot of different impacts. It can even happen in parties, that sometimes people see me and are you Charles? So that happened too. So yeah, it's kind of fun what happens with social networks. But everything is very positive, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because you see the people who are commenting all the time and liking and so on, but you never know who is hiding behind the reach. And sometimes, there is like some really interesting connections there.
100%.
So yeah, looking back at all like the success you've had on LinkedIn so far, if you had like tomorrow, huge bug, your LinkedIn profile is erased, you need to start from scratch again. What are the steps you are taking in the first month to make sure you are on the right track to reproduce the success you've had?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it really depends. If I am, let's say that I'm not the CEO of Lemlist, because it helps a lot to be like a CEO of a company if you are honest. Let's say that one scenario is like I'm a founder of a company that's new and I want to grow on LinkedIn. And I think the best playbook I've seen is the one that from OSS Venture, because I worked with them. They are a startup studio specializing in industry. And I think it's the best playbook because they start profiles from zero. what they do is that they optimize the profile. So basically they will put a nice picture. They will write a good tagline. So let's say they do one of the software they were doing was an ERP for manufacturing. So they would say like, it was called Bonk. So it's like Bonks, and we say like modernizing ERP for manufacturing and. And what you do is that you start to add people every day, so you can automate, of course, with Lemlist. That's what they do actually. So you will source people who are plant manager, manufacturing manager, everyone within the space and with kind of a decision maker, and you add them with a sequence. And every day you add 20, 30 people. So it's 200 people a week. So it's 800 people. It's 300. Yeah, it's like almost 1,000 person per month.
Yeah.
And you automate, and depending on if they are like modern or not, you will add a sentence to. We were adding a sentence request, like I'm writing about industry 4.0. I would love to be connected so we can exchange what's going on in the industry. And acceptance rate was maybe 50%, 60%. And so you grow your network with people who are interested in the topic.
Yeah, and important, you don't try to sell something straight away.
No, you don't try to sell something. You just say, I'm sharing things about new change in the industry, manufacturing, and I'd love to be connected because I feel like you're valuable in the space. No. You value them, and you don't outreach to them directly. Then what you do is that you will build this audience, and you will follow people who are in this space. And more important than posting is engaging with them, because you're no one at that stage. So you engage with people who post, and so you find the one that post about Industry 4.0 or ERPs in the manufacturing space or everything that's around manufacturing, and you post and you comment on their post, but you comment something valuable. You don't say, of course, I agree with you. You try to add smart thing, and you try to be among the first to post. And then people will naturally visit your profile and potentially follow you or are you in connection if they feel like you're saying something smart. And of course, then you try to become a bit an industry expert, someone who is knowledgeable in the industry. And then you will start to post. And the person you have been engaging with will feel reciprocity, which is normal in humanity. Like whenever you give something to someone, they want to give back. And because you've been commenting on their post, liking their post, they will give back to you, and they will start to engage with your post. And so, and this way, then you do like that, and then at some point of time, you can take a bit less time to add people on network. You can take a bit less time to engage with others, and you will have more people engaging with your own post. Yeah. But I think this is important to start like that by connecting one, engaging two, and then starting content creation 3. Okay. But if you start content creation first, I don't think it works so well.
Yeah, I agree. And how do you feel about lead magnets, like the comment to get technique? Because a lot of people have been doing it, and like recently on LinkedIn, I've been seeing a lot more people like saying it's destroying the feed. You should stop doing that and so on. Because that's a really effective technique to get your audience growing and actually have some conversation with people in the comments. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think the only time I tried it maybe a few years ago. I didn't do it recently because it's just a nightmare to accept everyone and send the document. Actually, we had a former employee who created his own software to do that, to automatically send the content to people afterwards. But for me, that's a nightmare to manage. But I still think it works because I know that Erwan did it recently. Yeah. So personally, I mean, like, once again, it's like, if you optimize for LinkedIn, I think lead magnet is a good thing. Yeah. If you really optimize for reach, and that's always a good strategy, seems like a good strategy. Then for me, I feel like it's not my personality. I prefer to give first. Yeah. And I think one thing that was a tip from Guillaume actually I really liked is like, if you start to have people that are engaged around your community or around you. One thing that's smart is to ask them a favor. And when let's say that I will share a good piece of content of something valuable, I will write in the text. I will say, I'm not doing a lead magnet, but please like so I can have more reach. And this way you are honest. You say that your outcome, your goal is to have more reach, but on the meantime you are not like playing the game of like asking people to comment. And then potentially not even sending anything after.
And people don't feel tricked.
Yes.
Okay, nice. So that was for my questions. Now I think we can take the questions from the audience. What do you think?
Perfect.
We have a first interesting one about how to leverage the two platforms together to add value to our targets, not just blast them. It's all about valuable content now. Yeah, it's a bit unclear.
Maybe they mentioned Taplio
yeah,
and Lemlist.
Taplio and LinkedIn. Yeah, how do you merge?
Taplio and Lemlist, maybe. No?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, for me, like, it's clear that Taplio for me is like, but Taplio is really about like, for me, it's about organizing my content. It helps me sometimes find ideas with a viral post feature that I like, because you can put keywords and you can filter. And sometimes it's good to see what are the posts that works. It gives some ideas if you feel like you don't have so much creativity. So Taplio will be really for me about like organizing my content, scheduling my content, and having viral ideas and replying to comments. Those are the main features that I'm using in the product. Yeah. And Lemlist for me is more to create campaigns where I will automatically add people to my network. So I don't do that so much now, but I did it actually recently. 6 months ago, I wanted to add more chief revenue officer in the US, because we wanted to continue to grow Lemlist in the US. And so I spent a few hours to filter out chief revenue officer in companies that I felt interesting. And I did a campaign to add them. So for me, this is a different jobs to be done, like where Lemlist is more for adding people to campaign and potentially reaching out to them. But in the future, Taplio might go to that, because we know that for some people having two different platforms is not always convenient. So I think Taplio will integrate more and more capabilities that Lemlist has, so people have only one tool. And the idea is that Lemlist is more a tool for sales, that is around sales engagement, with like being able to find leads, to have intent data in it, and engaging, of course, on multi-channel. But let's say that we'll do a light version of Lemlist, LinkedIn only, that will be embedded in Taplio, from what I have understood from the strategy of the team.
Yeah, and actually using those two tools, Lemlist and Taplio, are there still actions that you exclusively take inside of LinkedIn and not using a third-party tool? Like, I don't know, maybe do you always hit post?
Yeah, I go because I got the dopamine boost when you see all the notifications.
Yeah, okay.
So it's for the notification that I'm seeing that I don't get from anywhere. Okay. That I get from LinkedIn directly.
Yeah. Looking at the likes ranking up in the day.
Yeah, exactly. And you see the post you're tagged on that doesn't necessarily appear easily. So sometimes you're tagged on, you're mentioned on post, and you can see that only in LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay. I have a very interesting question from Ram about the distribution of his content. He's asking if anyone or you have been experiencing some distribution suppression. What he means by that is that even though he has quite an audience, in the first hour or so, his impressions are very low, and he feels like even his network is not exposed to the post. So is it something you experienced?
Yes.
How do you maybe counteract that? Or
No, I experienced exactly the same thing. Like yesterday, I think I posted and I had maybe 25 impressions after 10 minutes.
Okay.
Which is like crazy.
Yeah, nothing, yeah.
And I think it was because of my IP, because I went to Bucharest in Romania for an event. Okay. And then after it improved slightly. But I'm really feeling that very often. I don't know why, to be honest. I think there could be different things. Like one that could be that you're connected on different devices and LinkedIn doesn't like that. Two, that you have different IPs from different devices. Let's say that I have a computer in Paris and I have my phone in Romania. And the third idea is that I feel like, and I always felt like, you have kind of a presence that's allowed by LinkedIn. And when you post too many days, so for instance, if you have a viral post 2 days before, for me, it's impossible to get a second viral post after. Because it's like you're taking too much of share of voice on LinkedIn overall. And I think LinkedIn is limiting how much someone, like a profile, can be displayed. And so I have a good example, because today a partner of us shared a video that we did together. And the last time we shared this video, similar video, not exactly the same, we had maybe 700 likes. And recently there are many posts with me, because I was on an event and I know that I was tagged in many different posts. And she did the post today and it's only hitting like 100 likes. And I feel like LinkedIn is thinking that I have reached my potential in terms of like number of people that I can reach overall. And so it's like kind of maybe an algorithm that limits the number of time Charles Tenot can be displayed to other users, you know.
Yeah, okay.
And so maybe that could be an explanation, and that maybe could depend on your followers number or on your overall reach. And so if you're bigger, it allows to have a higher limit. So that's all theory. But I have seen exactly the same, so I know your pain, Raj, right?
Ram.
Yeah. I know your pain. I feel this pain, and you're not alone.
Okay. I have another good and interesting one from Fahim about the cadence of your actions on LinkedIn, so posting, liking, commenting. Would you say like things changed dramatically between when you first started and now? Do you do things differently, more or less? How does that look?
No, that didn't change so much, to be honest. Like I still focus most of my time on posting. I still try to I don't like so much posts from others, to be honest. Like it's one of my pain points, but I think I have I don't know why, but I don't have the like habit. Like when I read some posts, sometimes if I really feel a good post, like I can like, but maybe I will like 1 out of 20 or 30 posts. Yeah. And maybe it's not so smart. I could like every post, like that's cost nothing, you know. So I never liked so much. And commenting, I never really commented on others' posts, to be honest. Like I know that it's a good practice, but it takes a lot of time. Yeah. And for me, when I check LinkedIn, it's really like when I have 2 minutes between 2 meetings, and I will most of the time like just try to answer my comments on my post, or check a few things that can be interesting. But yeah, I don't interact enough, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay. I have a nice one that really interests me as well. You talked about before about the hooks you're using, the pictures you are posting, and so on. And AJ is asking, how do you do to inject emotion and relatability without sounding or looking too fake? Like, is there a compass that you have? How do you organize that?
Yeah, this is a really, really good question, because I know that the more people master the hook techniques, the more you're seeing the same thing. It's exactly what I explained as like, here are the 5 things that I wish I knew as a CEO. It can sound it can sound not very emotional and not very close to people if you do that too often. I think I do it by balancing, by not doing posts that are optimized for hooks. I will do sometimes, but very often I will try to create a post where I will try to be more vulnerable or more simple and more close, and potentially write something that's not fully optimized for the algorithm. So I think it's always a trade-off you have to find. But it's not I don't have a science for that, to be honest. It's more like I'm always trying to say, okay, how are people going to perceive me? And it's just an intuition of like how I will look like when I will post that. Does it look like me or not? And I prefer I try to find the right words that
and the right balance.
But that's a tough question.
Okay. And what would you say is like the biggest misconception people have about LinkedIn in general, posting on LinkedIn and so on? What do you think like people really get wrong and should change their mind on?
Yeah, I think I think like people think that chasing virality is the most important thing. Yeah. But to be honest, like the most important thing is really like being committed and disciplined. Yeah. So I think it is the main one that I'm seeing like people getting wrong. And the other thing that I'm seeing is what I said before, is really like I see many people start LinkedIn and write like they are copying like people who are much bigger. Yeah. And they think that it will work for them, and they realize that no, it doesn't work for them. Like if you're sales and you say like you have to explain why what you're saying is going to be insightful and interesting. And if you're no one, it's harder, and so you have to display and explain why. And potentially, for instance, for ourselves, that would look like actually Colin Cadmus, for instance, did it well, or like the sales from Gong. Like it's like I closed $5.3 million in sales at Gong. Here is what I learned, you know. But so this way they display like credibility. Yeah. But if you just say like here is 5 things I wish I knew about sales. Why would you be interesting for anyone to read, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so you need authority. All right. Do we have some other questions? Yeah, we've done this one. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, interesting one that I don't see a lot of people talking about from Bullman about leveraging LinkedIn groups. Is it like something you've done when you first started? Like, how do you feel about them? Do you use them or yeah?
No, to be honest, it's something I don't know at all. Like I've seen some groups being very popular. Like Daniel Disney has a group with sales. Like so I know that it can work. But to be honest, what I've seen is like at least company page, they struggle much more than personal profile page. You have some exceptions of like very famous brand that can work, but overall like company page is like much harder to get audience from. But groups, like I have no idea. I see that some people like leverage pods, and you have some groups and some company page that automatically like and engage with profiles. I'm not sure to what extent like pods are still a good idea now, because I always feel like you get a lot of engagement quickly, but after it drops a lot.
Yeah.
And so you see people who use pod, it's easy because they have like 50 likes in 10 minutes. And after the post end up at 100 24 hours later. So I'm not sure it's such a good idea now.
Yeah. I agree. And if we look back at the advice you would give someone starting, something that comes up from Edouard is the post structure you would recommend. Like people often ask us at Taplio, should I always use carousel? Should I always post an image? If so, should it be an image of myself, an image of a workflow of my product? Like, is there something you would say to someone starting about how to structure a post? Yeah.
No, I mean, like for me, like first of all, like if you do text only, it works, but it's always harder because you have nothing to you have to be very good in the hook. If you have an image, that usually works quite well. Because if you smile or you feel nice, people are like more inclined to just like because they like your face or you feel a good person. Videos, I think, used to work very, very well 1 year ago. It was crazy. Like sometimes you had 1 million views on a video and it dropped completely. I think video is good if you feel good on camera. I still think that if you like to talk and you can just record yourself with your phone. I know some people who are doing that just walking on a park, and they are saying something and it works quite well, but it's kind of niche too. And I don't think LinkedIn is pushing video as they used to do 1 year ago when they were trying to push video much more. Carousel at their gold age too, like same 2 years ago, a bit before videos. But I think it stopped. So I'm not seeing carousel too much. So currently, I think like what has always been working is like very good text and images. I think they are safe. But all the other format, I think it's up and downs depending on different periods. But to be honest, like today's carousel, I don't see so much carousels.
Apart from like really specific pages of people talking about tools and so on, where it makes sense. Like if you're, the message you're trying to deliver is really well supported for a carousel, like do it, because at the end of the day, it's the best way to showcase your value and your message.
What I think I would invest in is more like one pagers. If like for instance, Kevin was doing that, like the cheat sheet. Or same for Cold IQ. Like for instance, Cold IQ will show you the stack and the tools that we're using at Lemlist, and they will do a design. So this is actually a very smart post. You can either design it yourself or take a designer that costs $100 and that you can use several times on the same post. But everything that's visual, that gives a visual representation of something is usually a good idea. Another example that I like is like Benjamin from Full and Rich. He does like a visual representation where you see, for instance, people queuing and you are people sending mass email, people and then people cold calling, and you see that there are less people doing cold calling. And so he has some kind of visual representation that are quite cool. But you can quickly become I think what doesn't work is like the AI generated ones that are a bit plain. So you have to say something that the design is important, because it's like if you do a good design, it really helps. But if you do a poor design, it really doesn't help, and you feel like someone who is like average,
using paint.
So you
like
can quickly go on one side or one other. But good visual, I think it's still great. And one pagers for me works well. Like one page, like one image, one Figma or design that can work very well. Or even a quick GIF can be a good idea.
Yeah,
if you
even
display.
with the latest image generation models, you have no excuses now. Like
Yeah.
you can generate text perfectly. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's the right time to get to those one pages.
Definitely, yeah.
All right, I think we can wrap it up with the questions and with the session. Is there like any final like quote, tip, something you would like really want the people who joined us to leave with?
No, I think I already said it, but if I have to summarize, what helped me the most is thanks to Guillaume. And Guillaume has developed, I think the way he sees it is like, even though you're online and you don't know people, if you make sure that you give first and that you're genuinely trying to help people, if you're focused on yourself, your own goal, trying to get vanity metrics, I don't think it works on the long term, either because people will feel it or either because you will burn down.
Yeah.
But if you do things like because you want to share learnings, no matter what you do, even if you are very young and I don't know, you are 22, you start your company and you don't feel like you have so much to share, you have always things to share. You are always trying stuff, things that work, things that don't work. And as long as you are sincere and authentic, I think it works because like humans, like they like other humans and their authenticity. But if you are just trying to trick the game and use AI for everything and try to copy a viral post from someone else, I think it will never work. At least I prefer to think that it won't. So yeah.
Nice. Wise words. Yeah. All right. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys. It's been like an absolute pleasure to do this with you, Charles. It was the first session. So yeah, you guys are going to receive the recording in your inbox shortly. And also a quick survey from Luma to give us your insights and what you thought about the session. So please feel free to do it. If we can evolve the format, it will be great. So yeah. Thanks a lot, Charles.
Thank you for having me. Thanks to everyone. I hope you liked it and I was helpful.
Yeah.
Take care.
Looking forward to see you guys again. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.